Ẹ mà lẹ níbẹ̀ yẹn ò nílé lóko. Ẹ sì kú dédé àsìkò yìí. Hello everyone, it's Adirunke again. I hope your day is going well. Today I'd like to talk about shio. Shio, another popular Yoruba interjection or exclamation. I have a playlist on interjections and exclamations, and I've covered expressions like "o" that is quite common after our sentences, and "o," and I think I've done quite a few, so shio is this one. Shio. You might also hear shio. So it might either be pronounced shio, shio, or shio. And I'll try to cover why briefly, just to show you why those different pronunciations exist. But when you hear shio or shio, just know that they are the same. There's no difference. It's just a dialectical difference. If you try to find an English translation for shio or shio, you will find the same word but English-sized, in quotes, anglicized. Shaw is what exists in the English dictionary. Shaw. Because a lot of people did not know how it was said back in the day. You wouldn't even hear it that often now among the English, but it was like it was popular in the 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. Now people don't know how to pronounce it, but they say Pshaw, Pshaw, Pshaw. They try to pronounce the P, but the P was silent when it first came into the dictionary. So, Shaw. It's funny also how the same translation that it has in the Yoruba vocabulary was transferred over to the English vocabulary. So I like that they did not try to change the meaning or make it really different from what it originally is. It's just the pronunciation that they did not get. So they would say shaw, shaw, but it's shio. And I've done some research to verify this. I'm just going to show you one or two tabs from what I searched, from what I found. But just know that shaw has its origins in the word shio, in the Yoruba exclamation, shio. We have such a rich non-verbal vocabulary, like very developed nasal expressions and very developed gesture system, and we can survive without words pretty much. If you take the Yoruba people's ability to speak away, we would still survive. It's that rich. If a Yoruba person tells you it's different from 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 there are like 10 forms, variants of the same word that would mean different things. And it is just a nod to back in the day when we didn't really use words. So I told you before we started to speak the way we do, we would use gestures and expressions and very minimal sounds. And this was millenniums ago. By the way, this was a long time ago. So in mongbo, if you say mongbo, that is a reminder of is used to express that something is going on at this time. Nlo, umbo. So that is a reminder of back in the day when we didn't really use words. Miraculously, this has been able to survive several millenniums. Is interesting, you know, that we still have remnants of our non-verbal communication, even in our verbal communication, even in our regular communication. And I tried to discuss it briefly in the first video on Yoruba lessons for beginners. I tried to talk. I can go on and on about just how developed the non-verbal communication is, but let's just stick to shio. So the same meanings transfer over. If you say, what does it mean? It can be an expression of contempt or impatience, but there are other things. So it's also an expression of disappointment or an expression of contempt or ridicule or impatience. And I will give you one example sentence soon. If you're saying something that I find particularly disappointing, most likely if you've done something that I find particularly disappointing, I would say, shio. Ojú gbà mí tì. Ibi tó bá yẹ ká ti bá ọgbọ́n tá bá gọ̀ ńbẹ̀ a máa dùn ní jọjọ. So I get, but shio, I don't even have to say anything else. It's an expression of contempt or ridicule or impatience or disapproval. As far as why the pronunciations differ dialectically, when do comes after me or me comes after do, irrespective, but let's stick to here, when do. And I've explained it in the 5th video on the Yoruba lessons for beginners series. When do comes after me, because me and do are like the two extremes, for lack of a better word. One is the highest, the other is the lowest, and then there's an in-between. Typically, when they're right next to each other in the in the most common dialect, the Oyo dialect, the one that Ajayi Crowther recorded, in the very common Yoruba dialect, this would sound like do. So instead of, this is me, if you break this into syllables, this is she, the second syllable is o. So me, do. But if you say shio, you are subscribing to the common Yoruba dialect that changes this to do when it's right next to the highest tone. So when the two extremes are right next to each other, the standard dialect changes this, because this is do coming after me, it changes it to do. If it were to be me, it would be me. I've explained it, but that would really help. Once you recognize that, your reading and your pronunciation will be better, in your wanting to attain fluency, if you're in that category. So do, shio for one dialect, but in the more common one, it would be shio. Me do, shio, me do. But if you want to do a different dialect in which they don't respect that do me compatibility theory, they just pronounce the tones as they are in each syllable, then it would be me do, shio, me do, or shio, me do, shio, or shio, or shio. So if you hear shio, it's right. If you hear shio, me do, it's still right. Shio, both work. Shio. That's basically it. I encourage you to see this video because I've covered it, and I covered it using a love story to make it less, I don't know, to make it easily digestible, less complex for most. This is an example sentence with shio or shio in it. If I say, oh, ṣé láti gbà yìí ni, oh, tí ṣe ni, oh, tí bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní ṣe ni. I'm trying to say you haven't done it all this while. You haven't even started. Sure. Sure. But the original version is shio, shio, or shio, 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 or shio. You haven't done it all this while. Sure. So this is the anglicized version of the same word, but still the same word. I tried to look online because I was desperate to see if this can be attributed to, if I'm making a mistake here, but I'm pretty sure. I'm like 100% sure, Let's see. So this is where I took the screenshot from. Okay, so this is like the only thing that I found really that has anything useful. So I as far as like what a lot of people think again, it's slowly even becoming irrelevant in the English dictionary. Is very soon going to be considered Old English because nobody really, there are not many people, many English people still saying it. Here it's attributed to George Bernard Shaw, but this doesn't, I don't know who runs this blog, but that doesn't really make any sense because there's nothing about George Bernard Shaw that would make that expression an expression of, let's even see how it is, contempt or impatience. Let's see who George Bernard Shaw is. It's not true. There's really no proof of that. Playwright, critic. Okay, perhaps because he was a critic, but I doubt it. When was he born? 1856. That's interesting. But I wish to know the meaning and origin of the word show. I had this word being used by my mother when I was a child. Show, pronounced Pshaw or Pshaw or even show, is an expression of impatience or disgust. It is said to be imitative of the sound one makes when impatient or disgusted, a sharp exhalation and sigh combined into one. It dates all the way back in writing to 1673. We came across an exchange attributed to George Bernard Shaw and Oscar Wilde that refers to this word in the silent P form. So, Shaw, that is its original version. Wilde asked Shaw what he would entitle a magazine that he wanted to produce, and this is supposed to be the interaction. I'd want to impress my personality to the public. I'll call it Shaw's magazine. Shaw. Yes, and how would you spell it? We suspect that the sole reason Wilde asked was to set up this. How is this word pronounced? Let's hear. Is it riposte or repost? Repost, right? Repost. So again, that doesn't really make any sense as far as origin is concerned. Shaw is just the man's name. As far as the word being used as an expression of impatience or disgust, I've solved the mystery pretty much. It's from the exclamation shio, which is Yoruba. But what is this? Let me just go through these other tabs to see. Okay, I think this is just somebody selling a portrait of George Bernard Shaw. I didn't really find anything particularly. We had a baby, no. Sure. And this is about this. It was entitled Shaw. I see how it would have been an interesting one for Shaw to have adopted because, Shaw. But the origin of the word is, and it's most likely as a result of transatlantic trade. Perhaps one European that brought it to the English vocabulary and popularized it found it particularly interesting because shio may have sounded like shaw to him, a name. So he may have adopted it because I highly suspect that it was adopted because it sounds very much like shaw. But the P, because she, I wonder why it's written with the P though, and why the P then has to be silent, because you could have just said SH, SH something, but it's interesting anyway. But yeah, that's the origin of the word. And I think that's about it for what I have. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And I'll see you in the next video. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.
Oh,